Hey everybody, Ryan here at etrailer. Today we're going to be taking a look at your best flat toe options for your 2007 Chevrolet Cobalt. So there's going to be 5 main components we need to flat toe our Cobalt down the road. We're going to have our base plate, our tow bar, our safety cables, our diode wiring, and our braking system. But with that being said, let's talk about each component a little more in depth and what one I would personally recommend. So let's start with the base plate. The base plate is going to give us a solid connection point to hook up our tow bar to. Now the base plate that we're using today on our Cobalt is the Blue Ox one, and I really like this one for a couple of different reasons. Whenever we're not flat towing our Cobalt, it's going to really blend in nicely to the front and not really affect the factory appearance at all. But whenever we are ready to use it, it's going to be really easy. The removable arms here, those more or less just click right into place, and then we're going to have one pin that allows us to attach our tow bar to. So it's not confusing, it looks really good, and is really easy to use. Now we can move on to the tow bar. The tow bar is what's going to connect the front of our Cobalt to the back of our motorhome. So this is going to be the primary connection point. Now the one we're using today is a Blue Ox, and there's plenty of different types, and they all work pretty good. I will say with the tow bar, if I had to recommend one thing, it would be that you choose one that is non-binding. And so what I mean by non-binding is many of them will have a lever like this that'll get it out of that bind. So say whenever you get to your destination, the ground isn't level, the arms can be locked in and make it extremely difficult to get everything disconnected. The non-binding style, you'd simply push down on your lever, it would release that tension and make it really easy to get unhooked. Now, safety cables are pretty straightforward. They're going to act as a backup connection point in the event of a catastrophic disconnect. They're going to keep the Cobalt connected to the motorhome. Now the ones that we're using today are the Blue Ox coiled style, and really there's only 2 options that I would recommend, and it's really just going to depend on what type of tow bar you are using. Some tow bars have channels that run along the sides, and those channels are there to run your safety cables and your wiring through. So if that's your case, I'd recommend picking up some straight ones. That way you can use the tow bar as intended and run them through. However, like in our case today, our tow bar does not have channels, and so we went with these coiled ones. And the reason you're going to want these coiled ones is because those coils are going to help keep them up off the ground, and they're also going to give us that extra length that we need whenever we're making turns. Whenever we straighten out, get back to coiled, we're not going to have to worry about them dragging. The next component that we're going to need is tow bar wiring. So that tow bar wiring is going to transfer the lighting functions from the back of your motorhome to the back of the Cobalt, keeping us more safe and legal. The one we're using today is the Roadmaster diode wiring kit, and that's the one I would recommend. That's for a couple of different reasons. The fact that it uses diodes and taps into our factory wiring means that we're not going to have to worry about setting it up every single time, unlike the magnetic style lighting, which sticks to your car. You have wires draping across. It's just kind of a hassle to get done. Those diodes are also going to protect our Cobalt's factory wiring if a short were to occur on the motorhome side. I think these also have an advantage over the bulb and socket type, because with the bulb and socket, you're actually going to have to drill a hole into your taillight housing and add an additional bulb, which means you're going to have to get that hole right the first time, or else you're going to damage your housing. And since you're creating another opening, it's more prone to leak and get moisture inside, damaging your tow bar wiring components. And our last component will be our braking system. And so what the braking system is going to do is apply the brakes in your Cobalt whenever the brakes in the motorhome are applied. And that's going to not only give you more predictable stops, but it's also going to really reduce that wear and tear on your motorhome's braking system. But with that being said, The braking system that you choose is really going to depend on two things: how much you flat toe and how convenient or easy you would like it to be every time you do flat toe. In our particular case we have here today, we're using the Demco supplemental braking system, which is a permanent style. So this would be a good choice if you plan on flat towing a lot or just really want that convenience every time you do it. That's because it's going to stay with the vehicle, and any time that you want to flat tow, you're simply just going to have to flip a switch, and that'll set everything up for you. And on a side note, if your motorhome has air brakes, you're going to want to use the Demco Air Force 1, which will work pretty much the exact same way with the convenience, only having to turn on a switch, but it's going to be specifically designed for those motorhomes with air brakes. That way everything will work correctly. Now, if you only flat tow every now and again and really don't mind having to go through a few extra steps to get a braking system set up, a portable one might be a better choice for you. The one that I really like is the Blue Ox Patriot 2. Now, since it is portable, what you're going to have to do is set it up every time. You're going to set the unit into the floorboard and connect it to the brake pedal, but more or less it's going to get the job done. It's going to be reliable, and once you have it in there, it's going to be easy to use. And that'll finish up our look at of our best flat tow options for your Chevrolet Cobalt. I hope you find this information useful and it helps you decide which components you want to use for your flat tow setup.